What's up, individuals? If you know anything about me personally, you know I'm a die-hard FNaF fan. I grew up with the series, and heck, it was even my first ever YouTube video. I got to see this movie a day early because, I don't know, I guess they just said friggin' put the movie out. My theater had a self-playing piano, which was pretty cool until I read the word Taylor. Oh god, the theater was friggin' packed, and it was literally all just people going to see the FNaF movie. People were very dressed up for the occasion, in a good and bad way. All this, and yet I went into the FNaF movie not expecting much. I simply didn't think this movie was going to deliver, even after 7 years of development hell. And I think part of that was because it was from the producers of Megan, and I don't really think that gives you bragging rights. Blumhouse directing the movie was a red flag for a bunch of people. But you know what? I don't really think it mattered while I was watching the movie. They have put out a few stinkers, but, especially for a big name like this, they had no right to mess it up. And they didn't, because this movie delivers. First, let's talk about Garrett, the movie's crying child. I think Garrett was a good and pretty necessary way to replace crying child and to motivate Mike. And yeah, I think that replacing the Markiplier moment was pretty necessary because that Michael basically murdered his brother in cold blood. And you would never root for him if that happened. Also, I'm surprised they even had a reference to that part when Max died. Having the movie stray away from all the needless plot points of the FNaF lore was actually pretty nice. It encapsulates the spirit from FNaF 1's lore that made it so great in the first place. There's no remnant, there's no robot children from the books, it's just a guy and he's killing kids. Peter Malark as Mike did a pretty good job humanizing someone who almost never spoke in the games, and he became my favorite character pretty quickly. Vanessa was a character I was iffy about at first. My first thought of her was why is she trying to rizz him up? But by the end of the movie, I was completely sold on her, that was a really good character. Same thing goes with this thing. Before the movie came out and there was the whole Together We Are FNaF thing, I thought it wasn't going to be in the movie. I thought it was just a meme. And I was somewhat right. During the entire scene, I'm pretty sure the entire theater's reaction was, what am I currently watching? I waited 8 years for this. In all seriousness, it makes sense that the animatronics would do that towards Abby because they're trying to manipulate her so they can kill her. So it all makes sense at the end. But after this scene is when they introduced the spring locks, and that was when I was like, oh my god, they're gonna do this scene. I was fangirling throughout basically this entire movie. When Chico's Magic Rainbow showed up, I was squealing. No, not really, but that was cool. MatPat being in the movie was so surprising that I couldn't even take a video of it because it just happened so fast. The man basically gaslit the entire internet into thinking that he wasn't even in the movie, and then he was! What did we expect? Regardless, more people clap for Corey Kenshin than MatPat, so really, everything is right with the world. Anyway, back to the plot, and I think it's time to talk about the Spring Boy. Making Springtrap Vanessa's dad was actually a pretty good change, and I'm sure not many people were expecting it. I kinda did, but it was still a good twist. I did want more of them, but I'm sure it'll come back in later movies. Also, that Springlock scene, I do think it was a little tame. Max's gang had more gory deaths, but I'm honestly surprised they had the guts to pull it off. The I always come back line was kind of forced, to be honest, because, how do you know that? But this movie ends off with the greatest credits of all time. Let's go! So yeah, that's all I have to say, pretty much. While I don't think it's a perfect movie, what is this? Horror movies have never been liked by critics. There is a reason they've never won a single Oscar. But what is that? Never in my entire existence have I liked critics. And this is a perfect example of why. You get paid to watch a movie and, criticize it and review it. So what? No one cares. No one cares about your opinion. But getting paid to watch a movie does not make you special. It just makes you more hated. They did the exact same thing with the Mario movie for, no reason. What? It's a freaking Mario movie. It's a movie about Mario. But the real problem is that people see this freaking percentage and think it's a bad movie and get discouraged from going to the movies and seeing it. But when it's actually really good.